Hey guys, I get a lot of questions all the time is like, how do I clean my guns? And so I have my rifle video of how I clean that I put up years and years ago, and weirds people out. So everybody knows me knows I'm a big fan of the 1911. I guess in certain times, not all of them, they're not all created equal or anything like that. But I do clean them a little bit differently than most people do and lubricate them. Big fan of, plenty of lubrication on them. You do run into issues, especially on handguns, with running a lot of lubrication when it comes to optics. This is my carry and training 1911. It's a TRP Operator that somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 or 35,000 rounds. Yeah, that's a giant gap, but it's there. I stopped counting about 25, and that's been a year and some change. So it's getting close somewhere to the 30-35 mark. So anyway, that's friggin' irrelevant. The gun runs great, replaced very few parts on it. Just got me a different safety because I just wore the safety out because I actually use it instead of pretend it's there for no reason. So anyway, let's go into how I clean it. I do the same thing as I do with rifles. Is brake cleaner, works really good. Gun scrubber, of course, is better for finishes and all that sort of thing. They don't make a finish that I'm not gonna destroy. I mean, I just had this gun completed maybe 4 months ago. You can see I carry this thing every day. I shoot it all the time, just constant use on it. So they don't make anything that's gonna stand up to me. So I'm just not concerned about, I will wear this out before this will wear it out. But at the same time, you can use gun scrubber. I do recommend non-chlorinated brake cleaner so you don't have to, have chlorine, I guess, all along. You can get something that's better for you, especially if you don't wear gloves. I don't clean my guns an enormous amount. You can see I lube them up pretty seriously, so I don't clean them super constantly or anything like that. So if I was doing this every single day, it'd be a different story. I'd probably be like, yeah, we need to really focus on this, but I'm not, so let's not worry about it. So one of the first things I like to do is just go to any surfaces that have grease on them that I can easily get to with a rag. I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe it off. This is just gonna save me some of that brake cleaner because I may not have enough to finish. So, and I'm hoping to do all this in one big long take and just post it on YouTube. So, yeah, give you guys a little something. So yeah, I just wiped it off. I just make sure I'm getting here on the feed ramp. If it can even be called a ramp, I forget exactly what it is called on that. Who cares? Does it work? Yes, that's why I like it. All right, so I got that one nice cleaned off. Ready. I mean, I will spray it down with brake cleaner anyway, just to get any of the old oil or microbes off of it. Microbes, is that a thing? All right, that one's good. Usually the spraying I don't worry about. I just spray it down with the that stuff. Brake cleaner. There we go. I got a reverse plug. Sounds like a weird bar to go to. All right, got that. And the slide, if I can reach in there and get a little bit out, then I will. Again, I run them pretty gross and wet, but I don't, eventually that stuff starts getting out. So if I just get to the point, I'm like, hey, this really doesn't actually have to be cleaned. I usually just wipe down at this point, maybe put a little extra oil on it, but, might as well make the video work, right? Yeah, you can see all the cool stuff coming out of there. It's really not, and that's just with a wipe down, it's like I already wiped it down before I even turned the camera on the outside. So you can see how much I care about how it looks. So yeah, finishes are to prevent rust, not for looking cool. So now I did bring this little tub right here. I usually do this outside so I don't have to breathe it, but I am going to put on my iPro, even though it's tinted, and wow, do some cleaning here. So, all right, I'm just gonna spray it into this tub. I do it outside in places that I definitely don't want grass to grow because I'm already trying to kill the grass in those areas. So, I mean, I get way down in there. Of course, you can pull the grips off, detail strip it. This gun's nowhere near time to need to detail strip it. If it's been in the sand or anything like that, I will. Or if it's just, I'm seeing a lot of rust or something, I'll detail strip the whole thing and inspect it. No need for this one, so. This is just basic cleaning after a couple thousand rounds and a decent amount of carrying. So that's actually not bad. It's usually a lot worse than that. Get in there. I like having that little little tube on the end of it. That's what she said, so that I can get in there and get those little hard to reach places. You can also reach in there with a toothbrush. Don't care. I don't really get that anal about it. Again, I don't even like cleaning guns. Let me grab that toothbrush now that I said it out loud. And I can actually reach down here and grab a little bit more of the tub. That's actually kind of a nifty thing that I've just realized is a thing. There we go. Got that nice little part down there cleaned out. Give everything a little wipe down. Make sure that I'm not got like sand or anything. If I start seeing a lot of sand in here, I will go ahead and detail strip it. This isn't super smooth or anything, but I don't expect it to be metal on metal with absolutely no oil between it. And that's what this stuff does, is it breaks down the oils. That's actually not bad. Spray that. I even go in here and spray out the barrel a little bit. Most of the time, this actually works pretty well, and I don't even worry about dragging a patch through it. I mean, there's nothing in the grooves or anything. I tend to use pretty decent ammo in it, but I don't get a lot of fouling. Hey, maybe it's not because I'm using decent ammo. Maybe it's just something else that I'm completely out of control of. I like to come in here and make sure these locking lugs are good and cleaned out. There's nothing in there. I don't know if you can see in there with the camera. Probably not. Who cares? So, I mean, just with that, yeah, the barrel's looking pretty clean. Wave has clean enough that it will work just fine. I got our Glock Guide Rod. Gonna go ahead and hit it real quick. I don't see anything in the grooves or anything like that. It tells me it needs to go and get any cleaner than that. So, go ahead and wipe that down. Let it dry out. Again, I do recommend it being with the door open, so you can not get high when you're cleaning your guns. So apparently those two things don't go together. I wouldn't know. Never done drugs in my life. Okay, this guy's looking like it needs a little scrubbing. I actually did have this replaced because I sent it off to Trip, who offered to do a slight amount of work that they were seeing on my magazines that I sent in that I was having issues with. They're like, hey, you need a little space right here that we need to TIG on there. I'm like, sweet, send it to him. The envelope broke and USPS lost it, so that was pretty cool. So I got to have one of my local cool guy gunsmiths, Paladin Arms, fix that for me. All right, so with the brake cleaner, I do want to try and avoid getting it anywhere on this glass. One of the things that I'll just do is I'll just actually I'll hold the thing by the glass, just keep it from any of that sort of thing happening. And I don't exactly hold back or anything, but I don't have to just hit it so hard that it's coming back and hitting me in the face or anything. That's what she said. So get in there, especially out of these locking lugs and these grooves. Get all that out. So give a little inspection, get a little scrub there in the locking lugs. See, I got another one of these operators, and it's just, it just doesn't have enough rounds through it for me to even pretend to clean it. Yeah. You can also take some saran wrap or just about anything, put it over that glass so you gotta hold it by it. But again, it's not the toughest optic in the world. It's one of the granddaddies of micro optics. We have the Doctor optics, like them. They tend to work really well. It's survived the ass whooping of being on this gun for a while, for several thousand rounds. Let's see, shoot, I've shot 1,000 rounds just at Panone's class, so that's probably 6,000 or 7,000 rounds through this. Maybe not that much, maybe a little bit less. Who cares? If it breaks, I'll decide not to use it anymore. But I do like it. Not concerned about co-witnessing. This thing's killing it as far as that goes. And I just have a reminder on my phone to change the battery once a year, and I'm golden. So, man, this actually came really clean, really quick. That's the one benefit of this thing not being black anymore, is I can really see into those grooves and be like, hey, is that something that needs to come out, or is that just nothing? No, that's a shadow. That's nothing. All right, so again, you can detail strip the slide. You can go further into it. Honestly, I don't really do that very often. Like maybe every 20,000 rounds. I seriously don't detail strip it unless it's been full of sand. If it's full of sand, I'll detail strip it. But I've only had to do that a few times. That and, rust. So I'm gonna pour this on some grass that needs to die right there. There we go, he's dead. All right, so now this is the controversial part that I really don't care if you like it or you don't like it. You're watching, not me. So these guns will run all day long dirty. I know it's got a reputation from the interwebs and certain people, and yeah, it's made by man. Everything made by man fails. If you haven't malfunctioned your Glock, you haven't shot it enough. So just calm down with the internet warrior garbage. What I want to do here is this is a finely tuned piece of machinery. There is very, very, very little plastic in it. Everything is metal to metal. So it does need lubricant. So I like to give it what it wants. So the way I like to give is all of it. Now, so the ones I really like to use, I've been using these for at least 6-7 years now. Been super happy with them. I've put guns away and pulled them out like years later. Yeah, there's been a couple of guns that I just haven't used, so I clean them up and sell them, and it turns out that the lubricant is still good and oily and ready to go. So I'm a big fan of this. I don't have any affiliation with them. They don't give me money. They don't even send me free samples or anything. It's just the stuff I like to use. Comes with a lower receiver. Again, I like to get in here and these grooves. And this is just a little paintbrush from Hobby Lobby or wherever you want to grab it from. Anywhere I see some metal to metal contact where you can see the finish is worn off, it needs oil, it needs grease. So I grease it first. Especially with the optic, you know, when it comes, I have a 9mm version, not really, it's not a TRP, otherwise I'd love a 9mm TRP, but they don't make it. So anywhere I'm seeing that, if you're running an optic or anything like that, you probably want to stick more to the grease if you're going to lube them this heavy than the oil. And I say that because till you get a good 40-50 rounds through it, it's probably going to throw grease on you, or oil, sorry. So it is, and we're going to throw it on the glass of the optic. So one of the things I like to do is I want to make sure there's plenty of lube on that trigger bow. So I actually come down here and I don't get crazy. I mean, it's not spraying a lot each time I do that, but it's showering it. There it goes. That's what I want. Get down in there, get into that magazine release. I'll even punch this guy out, throw a little over the top of it. Yeah, you say, oh no, there's oil all over it. What are you going to do about that? You're not going to be able to hold it. Okay, calm down. I have a solution to that. All right, I'll work that back and forth. That feels pretty good. Yeah, that's what Daddy likes. All right, so I can come in here and hit a little bit so it runs down there into the whatever that is, the manual safety. Oh yeah, oh yeah. What you're talking about. Anywhere I see it over here on the, especially right here where it rubs up against me while I'm carrying it, because I do carry this appendix. I like to give it a little extra oil so that it doesn't begin to rust. Because again, it's metal trying to return to earth. It's nothing specific to the 1911. It's going to rust if you put your sweaty butt on it, or belly, I guess. So I can just feel this right here. I like to hold the trigger, or the hammer, while I'm working the trigger to make sure that all that gets in there. And you can always reach down in there and get the excess out of the mag well. I'm not trying to lube the magazines or anything like that. They fall out plenty fast. Oftentimes I'll just reach down in there and yeah, find those spots and get all the top, the surface oil off. Okay, so all right, so that's a decent amount of grease anywhere that I can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of oil. Again, since this is an optics version, since it has an optic, not it's an optics version, then I'm gonna go ahead and hit it. So hit that. Glass still looks pretty good right there. If you do need to always have microfiber cloths to clean your optics off instead of using your t-shirt. Ask me how I know that. All right, so I'm gonna hit it again, just get my fingerprints off, cool. All right, again with the grease on the rails, I like to hit the rails pretty hard. Was there a joke in there? I don't know. Make sure they have plenty of grease. Yeah, I don't quite hit them as hard as I do like an AR, where it's just like, hey, if it doesn't need the oil, it runs out. Yeah. These locking lugs, definitely like to give them some love. Plenty in there. Get in there. And of course, where the barrel and reverse plug go, hit all that. Again, up here, doesn't matter. It is kind of the same thing. If it doesn't need it, it'll run out. One thing, not caution, but one thing to understand if you're going to use a decent amount of grease and not as much oil is as the grease begins to fill up with carbon and sand, it will slow the action down a little bit. It's hundreds and hundreds of rounds in. It's not like, oh, suddenly I shot, my concealed carry load of 40 rounds and then all of a sudden my gun's like cycling super slow. I'll even give it in there and give it a little finger love, make sure it's in there. Especially right here around there, the inside of the ejection port right there. That's where I definitely don't want a lot of oil. I want grease. if you put anything, honestly, you probably don't need anything, just because it does tend to throw it back onto the glass. So slide greased and oiled, frame greased and oiled, barrel, again, you know, just hit those locking lugs. No reason that they shouldn't have plenty on them, right? This isn't axle grease or anything like that, so don't worry your pretty little head that it's going to hold dirt and become this problem. I did run this through a Brokos class, Dan Brokos, Lead Faucet Tactical. I really enjoyed Brokos's class, believe it or not, and I don't just like everybody. There's plenty of courses I went to that week that I did not care for. Anyway, ran it through there. It's one of the few guns that ran through that had only one malfunction. I had so much mud on the front of a round that it would not chamber. So that was pretty cool. However, we were in about maybe a little less than a foot of mud doing a vehicles course, shooting underneath, doing flat face prone, jamming the grip down into the mud, magazine sticking out because I was using 10 rounders. Gun ran like a top, had that one problem, worked right through it, got back into it. There was no beating the gun off, just couldn't get it in. So ejected the magazine, popped that one out, put the magazine back in, got the gun back up, continued on. Actually had one of his instructors approach me afterwards and like asked me about the gun. That was pretty cool. And Brokos himself, now that I think about it, said that, you know, asked me how the 1911 ran. So, all right. So I got all these other little parts, and of course there's plenty of videos on how to take this thing apart and put it back together. But I'll go ahead and try and put it back together real quick. It can be a little weird with these long rods they have. That's actually a little too much grease on that. It's gonna come all up. There we go. It's actually got a pretty good little coat. I'll give a little of the light stuff on there too. Let me say all that and then completely forget how to put this thing back together, because again, I don't clean it very often. Even the reverse plug, man, get it in there, let it know you like it. Little love, little lube love. All right, so now we want to, oh, you know what? I do grease these springs hard, especially you get a buffer spring inside of an AR. Oh man, you know what I love to do? I love to give it all the grease. For these, yeah. Again, as the gun heats up, the grease will begin to run a little bit more and move down into any of the spots that you are afraid that I'm not getting into. All right, so yeah, before I screw up on camera, I'm gonna try and do this with, there we go. Ooh, it's not gonna hold. Here we go. Okay, so I made a tool myself. No, I made a tool out of to hold this back of a little nail. Knock some of my grease off. Might should have done that before. And I like throwing a lot of grease on this guy first to make sure it's all in there. Yeah. All right, here's the part where I half clean my hand so that I'm not just oiling absolutely everything, just so it's easier to hold on to. All right, I come in here. You know what? I didn't lube this link. You would think that I've got enough grease and oil in the gun that it would not have a problem. But again, I wanted to know I love it, because let's be honest, it's 1911. I love it. Bring it in. I love trying to put these in, being facetious about that. All right, fell right in, makes me feel smart. All right, pop that back. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on assembling this guy real quick. Super easy if you're at all used to it. You can probably see all the oil that I got on it. That's how I know I've got enough, is that I've got a lot of oil. There's oil everywhere. And grease, oh yeah. So you can see it's super greasy, but it's not super oily. So there's oil in a lot of places, but it's buttery smooth. That's how the part I love about that. The little, as it all goes together. I don't know why it trips my trigger. All right, so now one of the things I like to do, I mean, it's done. I can basically holster it and walk off if I want. But I like to start wiping it down just to get any excess off. If it doesn't need it, it'll run out. Now, especially if, there we go, if I'm having like issues where like, oh, you know, I got oil and stuff on the the grips, and I don't like that. You know, that's cool. What I like to do just for that, and just for those guys, I've got it for you right here, is I'll take, I actually like to wipe the whole thing down with oil to make it all consistent. But if I'm super concerned because there's some on my grip and I want to get it off of there, I'll spray a little brake cleaner on there, wipe it down, and it evaporates and it's gone. So you can do that if you want. I'm not a huge fan of that. You know, nothing wrong with it. You know, but you can see I'm wiping down on this Cerakote and it's not coming off onto the rag or anything like that with this. Oh, daddy like. All right. So this thing is ready to go. Come back here, put my light laser combo on with a quarter for some reason. I honestly would have liked it to have just been a whatever it is, a flathead screwdriver, but hey, this works. And I do run it pretty tight. That's what she said. All right, that's how I like to do it. I will run this a minimum of 2,000 rounds before I ever consider about cleaning it, unless it's just full of sand or anything like that. Oftentimes I'll take it out, just wipe the barrels and stuff down. Back here, definitely you're going to get some oil out of that. That's fine. That's how you know it's got plenty. You can see there's just there's plenty of grease, not an enormous amount of oil around the barrel area. So as you fire, it shouldn't throw a lot on the glass. But you know, it's a good idea to make sure you have some microfiber cloths around just to go ahead and clean that off if you need to. So. Well, I'm gonna go get it dirty again. Hope that answered some questions.